Okay, welcome to Why API Security is Important for Your Organization, a webinar by Yenlo. I'm Rob Lauber. I am going to be one of the presenters together with my colleague Madura. And in the next 45 minutes, we are going to talk about APIs, API security, and why this is so vitally important for your organization. So without further ado, let's get started. And let's start by introducing myself. As I said, I am one of the presenters, and I have been working with Yenlo for more than 5 years as an integration consultant and as a WSO2 trainer. I've been in IT for more than 35 years, hence all of the gray hairs. And I also do a lot of blogging about the products from WSO2, especially helping to guide non-technical readers or newbies into the world of WSO2. And with me, I have my colleague Madura, who is now going to introduce himself. Madura, can you do the
Hi, Rob.
honors?
Yep. Hi, Rob. Hi, everyone. I'm Madhura, and I'm working as an integration consultant at Yenlo. I have 7 years of experience in IT industry. Currently, I'm specialized in WSO2 EI and API Manager. Thank you, Rob. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Madura. So we are going to take care of you this evening or this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. When we look at the agenda, we have a number of bullet points that we'd like to cover. A little bit about Yenlo, if you're not familiar. We're not going to spend a tremendous amount of time talking about ourselves, but because we have a much more interesting topic, which is, of course, the API. And I would like to break it down into the rise of the API, the importance of API security, a very high level overview of the WSO2 API Manager 3.1.0. We're going to dive into 42 Crunch, and then we're going to look at a hands-on demo with my colleague Madura, where we do the security audit. Of course, there's going to be the opportunity for Q&As, so you can ask questions already. And at the end of the presentation, we will answer as many questions as we have time for. And if we're not able to do all of the questions, we will certainly get back to you. Just make sure that your details where we can reach you are actually somewhere in the question that you're asking. Okay, so a little bit about Yenlo. We are a global API and integration specialist, and we specialize on WSO2. As you can see from this map, we have offices in the United States, as well as Canada, in Europe, and recently also in Sri Lanka, in Colombo. And we are not the biggest IT company in the world, but we are the biggest as far as the knowledge and specialism of WSO2 goes. So we are a platinum value added reseller and implementation partner of WSO2. We are a partner of the year, 2 years running, and we have the highest number of certified consultants with regards to the WSO2 platform. Of course, we're ISO 9000 and 27001 certified. And when you look at what we do, we basically have a whole menu of things that we offer to our clients, depending on what the clients want. That ranges from training and certification, which is also one of my specialties. So if you want to know more about the API Manager, then I am able to tell you in this 45 minutes webinar. Please get in touch with us, and I can tell you a lot more in training that's online. And in the future, of course, hopefully we will be able to do them person to person. We do implementation and expert services, support services. We have a managed Connect cloud where you don't have to do anything. You just start working with the product. So that's a little bit about Yenlo. We are everything we do is regarding WSO2. Oh, it's very nice. That rhymes. APIs are omnipresent, I like to say. And why do I say that? Well, there is a very simple reason for that. And that reason is that they are everywhere, hence the word omnipresent. So, for instance, if you were to visit the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, you can go in and you can see this beautiful painting by Rembrandt, the one on the left, of course, which is called the Night Watch. But what they have done in the Rijksmuseum is they digitized, I think, over 200,000 etchings, paintings, sketchings, and drawings from all kinds of very famous artists like Vermeer, like Van Rijn, and others. And they open them up using an API. So if you want to know information about the Night Watch, the painting that I was just talking about, you can do within a browser a call like this, and you'll get information about the painting with regards to what is the title, who is actually in the painting, a link to a high resolution image online that you can use. So an API is a way to get in touch or to get in contact with really beautiful art, um, paintings, drawings, sketchings, etc., etc. And you might have started this morning with a cup of coffee from Starbucks. And if you're in the United States and you have a mobile device, you can use your mobile device to order and pay ahead. You'll be using an API. And basically, what Starbucks is doing is really, really smart because the API allows them to streamline the flow of processes within their stores. If you've ever been to Starbucks, there's a pretty good chance that you've been queuing up because there is a long line of people wanting to get a nice cup of coffee. With this app and the API that comes with it, they were able to streamline the processes and sell more coffee. So in that case, the API is making money, is doing business for Starbucks. But it can also be that you have an API that is the front to a very intelligent system, like the one that we see here in the right bottom corner from Clarify. Clarify is a New York AI startup that has developed a deep learning a system that is able to, when a picture is sent using an API post, it can see what's actually in the picture without any human interference. In this case, a picture like this sent to the API from Clarify will tag the image with snow, mountain, ice, travel, landscape, water, outdoors, and all kinds of other tags that are valuable, especially when you have a very large collection of APIs. For Starbucks, the API is about making more money because they have, of course, stores around the world and in the United States. For Clarify, the API is their business. So whether it's art, whether it's making more business, or whether it's creating business, APIs are everywhere. And I would guess that most, if not all of your cloud-based services you use on a daily basis use APIs, whether it's listening from something on Spotify to actually standing on your scales that will measure your weight and send it to the mobile device with regards to your weight, your body composition. You're using APIs everywhere. You might not know it, you might not realize it, but it is true. We're using APIs all the time because they are the entry point to the services and products that you're offering. So see it as a door to your IT landscape. And this door looks quite sturdy, I might say. This is not a door that you can easily get into But people want and will try and get in because they will walk around and they will see if there's a hole in the fence that they can get through. And I must say that when you look at the articles online and in the newspapers and websites, they are succeeding. So this is just a couple of headlines with regards to the some of the hacks that have to do with the APIs just of this year. So the security researcher that earned a 4,000K bug bounty after hacking into Starbucks database, that was more of a white hat hacker. He actually told Starbucks what was wrong, and it's a very interesting read. And we will share that read with you. Hopefully, my colleague will post it into the email on how they get it. It is not that they are actually opening up the back door and it's wide open. In many cases, these are things that if you do this and you do this and you do this, then you're able to do that. And the same goes for the vulnerability in Mercedes Benz. However, if you're able to lock and unlock doors of about 2 million connected cars, that's a publicity nightmare, that is a security scare, and you really don't want it. And there are many more of these breaches that you can find because, as Gardner says, by 2022 APIs will become the number one attack factor, and the reason is that they are so widely used. Sometimes they're actually driven by curiosity than something else. So I found this API definition from Tesla, and it had a disclaimer saying, is this API official? And the answer is absolutely not. These endpoints are a result of reverse engineering Tesla's mobile applications and vehicle software. So whether it's from the standpoint of someone want to make money or exploit, or whether it's actually driven more by curiosity, how does this work? Both cases can be a nightmare because if you publish this API online, not only the good guys will read it, there is a pretty good chance that also the bad guys will read it. And if this happens to you as an organization, I this should be a wake up call, or even before that, saying, okay, should we or should we not open up some of our APIs with regards to our products to people outside because they might want to do something with it. Because APIs can be seen a little bit as an all you can eat buffet for hackers. But if that's the case, why would you do that? Why would I want to use or offer an API if they're dangerous? And I think there is a pretty simple answer. Perhaps because you want to do business. Perhaps because you believe that as a museum, this is the way to let developers outside of the museum or even outside of your country get in touch with the art that you have, and they can create new art from the existing art that you have. So the Rijksmuseum, if you want to print toilet paper with the milkmaid from Vermeer, they actually said to me, well, if you want to do that, please take a high resolution image because that's the best that you can use. So they're very open to it. Or your Starbucks and you just want to sell more coffee without alienating your clients, because you do want to sell more coffee, but you don't want people standing in line longer times. Or if you're a company like Clarify, the APIs are the company. That's the way you want to do business. So it's fair to say that APIs are here to stay. So how do we manage them? Well, of course, there are a number of products that can do that. For WSO2, the API Manager is a complete enterprise class API management solution that will allow you to manage the APIs with the stuff that you need with it. And as I said, I'm not going to dive in too deep into the product itself because that would easily be, well, basically a training. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to touch on the product from a very high level perspective in a couple of slides. But I do want to say that, of course, we from Yenlo say it's a great product, but we're not the only ones. The API Manager is winning accolades by Forrester, for instance, that says the solution particularly well suits buyers with strategies that combine integration, API, and microservices with a desire for the benefits of open source. And it's true, there is an open source version for most customers from the perspective of continuity and security. Something like product support is highly advisable. But that is a different story. But I think it's important to realize that that is something that will give you assurance with regards to the product. And as you can see, WSO2 is a leader in the the Forrester Wave, uh, ranking there with the big guys. So we talk about APIs, and normally in training, I would say, okay, who knows what an API is? And I can see a raise of hands. Uh, that doesn't happen in this case. So I'm imagining that a lot of you are raising your hands right now. An API uses standard web protocols, a well-defined interface, accessible by third parties, and of course also accessible over the network. And it is a capability delivered over the internet for internal and as well as external consumers. And when I say consumers, I don't mean the end consumer, I mean developers who are integrating the APIs in their products, services, apps, websites, or whatever. That's an API, but a managed API is something completely different. It's all of the things mentioned before, but it has some characteristics that you need to keep in mind, because we're not opening up APIs for the fun of it. It is fun, but we're not doing that. We are opening up APIs because we want to gain something with that. We want to gain more customers. We want to share our our art with the world. We want to do whatever your API is capable of doing, and it can very well be just something very mundane, like for instance, like Deutsche Bahn does, that has an API that will tell you when the train is coming, or what kind of things are available. For instance, on a train station, Deutsche Bahn is the German railroad company, and they have an API store where people can take a look at it, they can try it out, they can subscribe to it, um, to see whether the API is something that they can use and integrate. So I'm now going to talk about the roles of the API manager from a very high level perspective. One of the most important roles that we can see is the role of a police officer. A police officer, of course, does a number of things. This gentleman is with the traffic police, but in generally, you can say that a police officer is someone that will tell you what you can't and what you can do. So a big part of the API manager is making sure that only the people who are allowed in are let in, but also only if traffic allows it to be safe. Because what you don't want is you don't want to overload your backend systems. So that the whole concept of a police officer is something that you can find inside the API manager at several points. But there is also the concept of the store or Devportal. As I showed you just now from Deutsche Bahn, like a store, you can take a look at what they're offering. You can take a look at the dresses or suits or pants or whatever they're selling. You can feel the fabric, you can try it on, you can say, well, this is something that I would like, or do you have a bigger or smaller size? So one of the roles of the API manager is also the store where consumers or developers can actually see or try out your APIs with or even without the assistance of a sales clerk. So in this case, this guy has some questions about a golf club, and the guy on the right tells them what they can use that specific golf club for. That's another role that is part and parcel of the API manager. When you look at the store, the possibility to take a look whether this is an API that really suits you, or like you would do in a store and say, well, this is not exactly what I'm looking for. Do you have something that can do this, this, and this? So we have the police, we have the store, and we have the workshop. So the workshop is really where you create the API, where you define the API, where you tailor and tinker with the API in order to make it do the things that you would like to do for the people you would like to do it for, meaning telling these people can use it, these people can't use it. These are the options that they actually have. Then there is the gateway. The gateway is where all of the API traffic flows through towards the backend that you're calling. And within that gateway, there is also the idea of the traffic manager, where you can actually say, I would like the traffic to be no more than this. Otherwise, we'll get in trouble with our backend and something like that. So we have an API manager that might look as a monolith, especially when you download it and you unzip it on your desktop and try to run it. It looks like one program, but it's not. It really is a product that has a number of components. A publisher, where what I would call the workshop, where you would define the API, the dev portal or store, where you can take a look at the API as a consumer or developer. Then we have the traffic manager that takes care of the traffic, so making sure that the backend stays up and running, but also making sure that the bundles of invocations are divided equally amongst the users, so that some people get exactly the same as others, and other people who perhaps pay more in case of monetization get a special lane on the freeway, like the one that you see, for instance, near Seattle, where you have a carpool lane. The key manager is another element that is responsible for the tokens, token validation, and that sort of stuff. And then on the right side, you have the analytics that will gather information that is sent to it and will give you insight into the usage of the API. That's a separate download that is not part. The publisher, dev portal, gateway, key manager, and traffic manager are all within the one download that you download from WSO2. But keep in mind, these are separate products with several functions. When you look at the publisher, that is the part where we're going to focus on, because the publisher is really the workshop where we define the API. When I say API, I always mean REST API. I'm not one of these people that says, well, we have a SOAP API. The SOAP API, as far as I'm concerned, and we can have a discussion about that, but SOAP APIs do not exist. You have SOAP services, SOAP endpoints. When I talk API, I mean REST, even when there is no mention specifically in the when you look at the definition, application programming interface. But for sake of clarity, let's keep in mind APIs are HTTP, REST, verbs, that sort of stuff. When you create an API in the API manager, let's say a REST API, you will publish it to the API manager and it will be available for you. And as you can see from the screen here, we have some other opportunities for the introduction of SOAP endpoints with an API frontend. I'm not going to dive in there. When you look at the standard out-of-the-box screen, there is a button called Deploy Sample API, and that is actually the one that we're going to use in our demo in a couple of minutes' time. So when you do that, when you deploy the sample API, then what you will see is a screen like this, where you can see a number of important elements of the API. This is the overview, and as you can see from the scroll board, there's much, much more that you can take a look at. On the left side, you see design configurations, runtime configurations, resource, endpoint subscriptions, lifecycle. All of those are elements of the API that you can define. You can fine tune them to your liking, and do a lot of things to make the API more secure. What we're not going to talk about, or going to talk about very limited, is things like scopes. Perhaps Madura will touch on it when in his demo. But there is a lot that you can configure, because there are almost 13 of these tabs that you can fill in, including stuff like documentation. So basically, when you fill in the documentation, your consumers of the API, which are the developers, can take a look at it when they go to the dev portal or store. That's the place where people can take a look at the API, they can try it out, they can subscribe to it, they can get in contact with the developers of the API and say, I would like to have an API that does this, this, and this. Okay, so that is for your users of your APIs. That is where they are going in order to find them. Now it's time to talk a little bit about 42 Crunch. What is 42 Crunch? Well, it's an enterprise API security platform where you can audit, scan, and protect your APIs. And what is extremely neat is that the audit functionality has been embedded in the WSO2 API Manager from version 3.1.0 onwards. The guys and girls from 42 Crunch are not newbies in the world of API Manager. They have really earned a lot of respect with regards to the work that they've done with APIs in the past. And basically what they are offering is automated API security from design to production. And there are a number of steps in that flow. There is the design step, the develop step, integrate and test, and deploy and protect. So as I said, 45 minutes is not a real long time. So what we're going to look at is the auditing of an API using the embedded functionality in the API Manager itself. We are going to talk about the other things that 42 Crunch offers when we talk about what we as Yenlo are doing with 42 Crunch in order to help you improve the API security in your organization. So what does 42 Crunch actually do? Well, the audit service performs 200 plus security checks. So they will take a look at the Swagger file, and they will identify best practices that are not in the file, where they say, well, if you do this, you should at least define a 401, a 404. It needs to have whatever HTTP code they know is best um, for embedding in the Swagger definition. It's an iterative process. So you run the audit, as you will see from my colleague, and then you will see what the response is. You make some changes, and that's the way that you roll with the 42 Crunch audit service. Because there are a lot of things that can go wrong with an API. And as I said, it's not so much the fact that we have the backdoor wide open. No, it is more the situation if this and that and that. And as you will read when you read the story on how Starbucks was actually hacked, then you get a feeling for that, the way that they work, but also the hard labor that goes into that. So this is the OWASP API Security Top 10 from 2019, where you find the biggest vulnerabilities in the APIs. So that was my last slide. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to ask Madhura, my colleague, to actually take over because it's demo time. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen like this, and I will ask Madhura to share his screen and take over from me. And I will see you in a couple of minutes for the final couple of slides and the Q&A.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everyone again. Rob, I think you can see my screen.
I can see your screen, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, let me get ready. So as you can see, I have a small demo that I prepared today to demonstrate how we can secure our API and what are the issues in it and how can we get the perfect score in our FORRESTER report. So I have deployed the API here, which I haven't done anything. If you go to it, this is out of the box API. There's nothing much I have done in the means of security wise. If you go to our API definition, and this is our Swagger file with our current configurations. Once we click on audit API, we can see what are the issues and our current score. So this is our current score, pretty bad, 45 out of 100. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can see our current pending issues. We have 40 score and number of issues 29. There are basically all these are response code, which are related to our resource paths. And it's required for 01, for 03, and for 04, and so on and so on. And there are some pattern of defined like that. So to fix that, we first click on edit API, and you can see this is our basic API Swagger file. I haven't done much changes again. For the sake of our demo, we're gonna focus on get resource only, which is this, and this is the relevant code block to that. I have prepared some changes of the screen to share with you guys because it takes some time because it's case sensitive, also indentation sensitive. So what I have done is I have prepared some steps for you guys, and each steps I will explain what I have done. So this is the changed Swagger file. I have done some work into this. As you can see, this is real-time display of what I have changed. You can see I have just some example here to the description. And if we look into our Swagger file, I have changed our metadata. I have added some host name to it, localhost, and description has been added, and some minor changes. So if we again look into our get menu, which is this, you can see I have the description to it, and I have fine-tuned our response score to 100. So right now, to get this example view, I'm calling a reference, which is definition and menu item. If we scroll down a little bit more, here in the menu items, so it is under definition and menu item, you can see what is the price, name, and image. So basically, I have added a pattern here, which is whatever the backend returns, it can be simple or capital, and it can contain numeric values. So it's all the things that required from our report. So that is the only changes that I have done. I haven't changed any other resource paths, or they're still there, and nothing has been changed, only the get menu. If I update the content, save it, and if I run the audit API again, it will change our current score. So currently it's 88% out of 100. So if you scroll down, you can see now currently remain 24 from our 29 if you can remember previously. So there are some more issues that we need to resolve. And again, I will change my Swagger file. Okay. So if you can see here, I have added more response code to hit 200, 400, and so on, so on. So if you look into this code block again, you can see the changes that I have made. I haven't changed any metadata like previously, just this part code block. So just like before, we are calling definition, parameters, and error, which we are getting these things. So if you scroll down, it's just same like before. Here, you can see our required code type, properties, and what are the changes that we have made. So we have enforced our how many characters can be there, and also pattern and description, and some changes. And if we update our content, save it on the audit API, okay, it's currently now 93%. So if you scroll down, we can see now it's reduced to 19. So yeah, so these are related to other services that we haven't changed. Shall we look into our 404, which is related to get output resource types. Click to this. Okay. So this is our put service. If you look into that, I had it just like what I have done to get. I added our response codes here. If you scroll down for put service, okay, this is our put service, and you can see just like before what I did to get, I have done it here as well, nothing more. So this is basically regarding the quality of our data to the client when they get either correct response or not. You can save it again and run audit API 94, and you can see some of the previous errors are gone. Now it's 13. So it's like that. Everything is straightforward. You just need to change your Swagger file with the correct indentation and the validations. This takes some time. This is not straightforward that you can do in 5 or 10 minutes. It takes some time. Just look into what are the issues that we need to take and what we need to address and what are the current pending issues that regarding data validation. So I have changed my Swagger file again, which is related to 100%. We can get 100% from it. Or the issues that we have encountered are fixed in here. So if we looking close to this one, we can see our post is, I have changed the locations here. That's all. And all the issues are addressed. So menu, get, all the things are here. As you can see, it's the same format that I'm following. The difference is I have added delete here just to show you we can change anything on the go. And if you change something, you have to add those validations here to your new service as well. If we save this one and we run audit API again, you can see we are getting 100% out of 100. All the data validation issues has been addressed. There's no issues. Your API is secure than ever. So this is what you can do using your Swagger file, basically. But there are other ways that you can secure your API using API Publisher. which is scope level you can add, and the roles level. So some of the, you can specify which user can see your API, which can't. So this is since we are talking about 42 crunch, this is what you can use to do using an audit API. If there's any question, please let us know, and Rob, to you.
Okay, thank you, Madura, for that very nice demo that you just did. I'm going to take over again, and I'm going to share my screen. Can you see it, the Madura?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, great. So we did the 42 crunch demo now, and as you saw, um, it looks quite straightforward, and it's actually some notes about it. So we shortened it in order to fit time-wise within this webinar. And when you deploy the pizzashack and you start with it, it shows you a different score. When you want to do this on your own machine, you need to follow these steps. Create an account with 42 Crunch in order to get an API token and collection ID, and then then those two values need to go into the deployment tunnel of the API manager. And if you're not familiar with the deployment tunnel, that is our main configuration file mechanism that's in place. And if you add these lines and where it says copied token and copied ID, put in the values that you're getting when you are subscribing to or when you're getting an account with 42 Crunch, restart the API manager, you should actually be able to deploy the sample API or take one of your own APIs and go to the API definition and then run the audit API. So normally it's not visible, but with this, well, I wouldn't call it a trick, it's just a configuration. Then it will become visible. And I think that was also one of the questions that we already had. So I thought it was wise to do it just when I was talking about this. And another thing that is very interesting to see is that it the audit also gives you information on what is wrong. So it doesn't just say this is wrong, but it also says, well, given the best practices, you should consider limiting, like Madura said, the input of A to Z, small caps, caps, and numbers, if that is indeed the value, the valid value for that specific field. So we're nearing the end, and why are we working with 42 Crunch? Well, there's a very good question, and there is a very simple answer. We are passionate about security, and we want the use of APIs to go hand in hand with top-notch security. So what we do for our clients who are interested in there is we can do an audit, we can do a conformance scan, and we can do a API firewall. And as you can read here, that will take a look at, let's say, closing the gaps as far as the Swagger definition goes, so that the users of your API know what they can expect, they know what they can send, and they know when it's going to be rejected. We do a conformance scan as part of the service that we offer to our clients who are opting in for this service, where we scan the live environment by checking the public endpoint and performing flow test requests, and we create a result out of that. And then we have the API firewall protection that acts as a security firewall um, for your service. And what's really, really great is that we have a very nice offer for you, because I almost sound like Oprah. You get two API audits, you get two API audits, and you get two API audits. For the people in this webinar, we offer free of charge the audit service where you send us two API definitions. We perform an audit scan on the API definition and we deliver a report with recommendations. And if you want to know more about that, follow the link that's shown on screen. I'm pretty sure it will also be somewhere in the mail that you're going to get as a thank you from us. So having said that, there is only one more slide, and that is the whole thing about questions. So I'm now going to see what the questions are and if I would be able to actually answer them. Um, I got a question. Could you please provide an example in regards to uh, an OWASP top 20 that you were referring to at the beginning of the demo? Oh, it's a little bit guessing what I would. Um, I'm I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Madura, do you have an idea?
I'm sorry. I think we need to look into this, Rob.
Okay, yeah. Well, what I can say, when you I'm interpreting this as a question of what kind of vulnerabilities were, for instance, in the Starbucks hack. And I believe it had something to do with not managing the level of depth that you can go and traverse through um, to the backend tree structure. But the example for Starbucks is well documented, and we will make sure that you get that. Um, that's a problem when it's you type something and I need to interpret what you're typing. So we will get back to this person with regards to that question. Okay, we did the one on the audit selection, and I have another one that says, does it work the same in 3.2.0? I haven't tried that specific version out with regards to this aspect. Have you, Madura, tried it out with regards to
Yeah,
the audit?
it's also working 3.1 as well and 3.2 as well.
Okay, great. Well, having said that, and seeing that we are out of questions and we're running 10 minutes to the hour.
And
Um,
I believe we have another one from Dana. It's saying, I am unable to see that audit API.
Yeah, we answer that.
Okay.
That's the piece of code that you need to put in the deployment tunnel. So I saw that coming in, and I thought, well, I have a slide on it, so it's better to directly address that question when we are actually on the specific subject. I would like to thank you all for taking the time to listen to what we have to say on API security. Let's keep in touch with regards to anything that you would like to know about this topic. Um, uh, you can find us on the internet. You can send us an email, get in touch with us via email, LinkedIn, on Twitter, and that sort of. You can even call us. We don't do pigeons with notes attached to the leg, but we do the telephone. So that's pretty much okay. Um, Thank you very much for your time. I've hoped you enjoyed it. If there are any questions, get in touch with us. I hope you have a great night. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you next time when we have another great webinar on one of the WSO2 products. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.